I'm very, very excited. Thank you, thank you. So I learned so much today about the discs and the different clogged pipes. And my question is, because it makes so much sense visually, so my question is, when you're dealing with other people, so I love all your teachings and I implement them in everything, my personal life, my friends, my family, and I have no problem. But when it comes to my employer and company, it's such a different environment. So at times, for me to feel really good, I live like this and I live your teachings. But at work, they look at it as strange. And
being happy and effective.
Right. And so
what part of it is strange to them?
Well, the fact that I oversee sales, and when sales are down, I don't get affected by it. And so,
So optimism is not encouraged at your company.
Right. It's weird. I mean, and I know they appreciate it, but I sometimes feel bad where I should say, oh, maybe I should be upset, or, because then it's like I'm not effective if I'm not upset if business is down. But I know business ebb and flow and just works out. And so,
well, don't worry too much about what other people's perspective is. And we know if you were not effective, then you might have more to have to explain. But you are effective, yes?
Yes.
So are they really after you?
Not really.
Then why are you after yourself on their behalf?
Well, actually, that's a good question. So I have this one account, and there has been so many amazing things that have happened in this last year since I've been with them, and more universal things like different people have changed, management have changed, much necessary things. But the sales aren't there yet. But I'm okay because I know how things have changed, and I'm excited about it. Except every week it's, what happened? What are you doing? And and I'm having to justify, and I make stuff up. Like I'm like, oh, we're down because of this. We're down because of this. Because I don't know what else to say. So how can I better handle that?
The most effective thing that you said is the sales aren't up yet.
Right.
That is a really good statement.
Right.
And we like the tone of this conversation because all day today we've been saying we don't want to talk about problems, we don't want to talk about your problems, we don't want to add fuel to those fires. And so now you are asking about something, how can I improve this?
Right.
And a friend earlier was talking about the meditation CD, where through breathing and listening to music, and the music is a bit odd, it's different than what you expect, so it causes you to have to focus in a way that distracts you from your normal thoughts, because you have to focus differently in order to stay in sync with the rhythm of that music. And then we are offering precise words. Once you get in sync with that rhythm and you are on that high-flying disc, and you are, if you've been following it just a little bit, then the affirmations or the words that have been carefully selected will help you to get that momentum going. And so this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about finding something that gets the momentum going. Now, as you've been listening to her, is it obvious to you, this is a leading question, because we want the answer that we're leading you to. Is it obvious to you that she is on a high-flying disc relative to this? And so you're already there, and you're really not bothered by what's going on. You're explaining to us that you know that it's going to go well, that you know that it is inevitable, and that your biggest problem is just trying to make somebody else understand that it's all right in the meantime.
Right.
So the question that you're asking is, how can I be so in sync with my positive expectation that I'm an influencer of others to positively expect also?
Right.
So what's the answer to that? In other words, don't you have a lot of information where you say, well, I've been here before and it turned around and I expect that this will too? And I think sales is a lot about feeling, and when I get this feeling it always goes well, and I'm expecting this to go well too. In other words, can't you just practice a few words that you really believe that don't sound funny when they come out of your mouth? And in an environment like this, all of those things, everything that you've said made perfect sense to this group. In other words, we're all in resonance with it.
Right.
So what do you think the problem is with saying those things to others? Are you saying to us that they're on a different disc and they need you to come down and get on their disc before they can hear what you're saying?
I feel like it.
Well, that's exactly right. So what you might want to say to them is, hey, I'm on this disc of anticipation and optimism, and it works really well for me. Now, I'll come down here in doubt and worry and concern with you if you really want to have a conversation about that. But I can't produce very well under those conditions. So I'm just asking you, want me to come down here with you? Because I'll meet you down here on this pessimistic level if that's really what you want. Right. But I prefer to stay up here in optimism and anticipation. It's your call. You're the boss.
That sounds good. Okay.
I can make stuff up. I can make stuff up to explain to you why it's not working. But the fact of it is, the reason that it hasn't come around yet is because the timing of it isn't right. But the timing is coming, and when it does, it's going to be worth it. And so, meanwhile, I suggest we all take our attention off what isn't working and get our attention upon what is working. Did you see all of these other clients that are going really well?
Which they are.
Well, at one time, that one and that one and that one were just like this one.
That's good.
Is that true?
Yes.
It is true, isn't it?
Yes. And so how about also in addition to even my own behaviors, and do I continue that way even though it is, I don't want to seem so laissez-faire, and I feel like when I express how easy things work out, and things do work out for me, and I speak like that because I certainly believe it.
The thing is, everyone here has already acknowledged, we've talked about it several times here today, that this focus is not simple.
Right.
It takes deliberate focus.
Right.
Several people have said it's not easy, but we don't want you to get into the justifying mode of how you're putting your energy into focusing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're wanting them to understand that you are doing something, and so focus deliberately and let them know that you are doing it. Mm-hmm. In other words, say to them, it would be easy for me to slip into the slump of negative momentum, but I don't like to let myself do that. And so I'm thinking about probabilities. I'm thinking about possibilities. Look at these numbers that I've worked out. Do you know if this client does this under these conditions, at the end of the year, the revenue that will be generated by that is such and such and such and such? Make tables of possibilities. That takes time and effort. You can print it if you want to.
Yes.
In other words, optimism is not something that comes easily to this world that isn't very optimistic. But once you own it, it comes easily to you. And that's the thing that we think is so interesting, is that there are lots of people thriving and succeeding that when they try to explain their success to those who have not yet found the success, they always make stuff up. And then they don't teach them anything that's very beneficial.
Right.
Tell them what you're doing. I'm using the power of focus, and I'm using the power of optimism, and I can feel that I'm on a roll. And the better it goes for me, the better it goes for me. I think our success, say our if it feels better than mine, is like a team sort of thing. I think our success is like anyone's success. Once an actor gets on a roll, they get those parts. Once anybody gets on a roll, there is a momentum. Success is a momentum. And I think so often people kill the momentum by trying to be realistic, and I'm not wanting to be realistic. I don't believe in being a realist. I believe in being a creator of reality, not an observer of reality. And it works for me. And since you're doing well, when you feel that way, they'll accept it. If they're ready to. And if they're not ready to, then they won't be rendezvousing with you on that disc that much, will they?
No.
If this is true, then that can't be. And here's what we mean by this. If you're really flying high consistently, there's not much going on where people are trying to pressure you into explanations.
Right.
And if they're trying to press you into explanations, then you've got a lower disc thing going on than you are admitting to. It can't be both. Because if you're flying high, they're not bothering you. And if they're bothering you, you're not flying high. So when they're not bothering you, fly high. And when they're not bothering you, fly high. And pretty soon, no one will bother you. You just can't argue with success. You can't argue with happiness. You can't argue with success. You can't argue with love. You can't argue with appreciation. In other words, everyone wants these things.
Right.
And so sometimes what they're arguing with when they're arguing with you is not your success or how you got it or how you're not getting it. They're arguing with their own in relationship to someone that they see getting it.
Right.
And you can't do anything about that. You can't get sick enough to help sick people get well. And you can't get ornery enough to help ornery people get happy. And you can't get unsuccessful enough to help unsuccessful people get successful.
Right.
In other words, the best you can do is keep flying high, and they'll catch on or they won't, but it's really not your problem.
So I'll be fine either way.
You can't miss.
Okay.
because things are always working out for you.
I know. It's just knowing that. Like, you know it, but then when you have that employer...
Now, don't talk yourself out of it now. We just went there.
I know, okay.
We just went there. We just went there. We know. Sometimes it's more of a stretch than others, but just don't give airtime to the other.
Perfect.
Employer. The employer who has power. The power to make me think the thoughts that he thinks. He has no power. It's all universal power. All he is a player in your game. That's all.
Okay. And then how can I get, because I am working on other projects, how do I get more in alignment with that? Because this company that I'm working with has given me so many different ideas, and I am appreciative of so many things that they've done that I say, oh, I could do this differently, or I would do this differently. And how do I get more in alignment with pursuing more of my own?
By playing those out in your mind and getting the momentum going. By being thrilled with the possibility even before any obvious doors are opening.
Okay.
Because, did you hear that? Because if you're thrilled with the possibility even before any obvious doors are open, the momentum must open the doors. And others will be jealous. They'll be annoyed. How come she gets it? How come she gets it? And they won't be able to explain it because they don't understand momentum. It just seemed like the right decision.
Okay.
You see.
Perfect. All right, and it's just one more question. It's a silly question, but I have to ask it.
It's silly. It's just silly.
It is. I have a dog, and he pees all over my house. And I've had him trained, and I've done my best.
Trained to pee all over your house?
No, I've trained him to be good.
No, but you're training him to pee all over the house.
Oh, I am?
Yeah, because you're talking about him peeing all over the house.
I know.
That's the momentum that you've got going.
Well, let me tell you the funny story, because my mom's like...
let's talk more about it.
My mom's like, Connie, he's peeing all over your house.
Yeah. Did you know she's got a dog that pees all over her house? Can't you just envision that? All over the house, everywhere, in every single room, on your shoes, in your clothes, everywhere?
No.
Everywhere? All over the house?
No. I take it back.
All over the house?
Just sometimes.
Sometimes
Yes.
my dog pees in some places in my house.
And he does it
That's a much better
purposely.
statement.
I know. I know.
What would you have him do?
Well, he goes on a wee-wee pad. Normally. And then sometimes he feels like going other places.
So pretend like this dog is your boss.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know what you prefer.
Yes.
And you know what he prefers.
Yeah.
And so how are you going to influence? How do you get momentum going about what you do want? First, how do you get momentum going about anything? Attention to it. So as you give attention to the thing that you do not want, you get more of it. As you give attention to the thing that you do want, you get more of it.
Okay.
This dog is going to train you to train your boss.
That's perfect.
Your dog is an easier subject.
Right.
Because he's not so locked into his patterns.
Right.
That dog really is following the inspiration of the momentum that you have going. You believe that?
I do. I like it.
So how do you focus upon what you do want when you're getting what you don't want? Well, you just take your attention from it. So how do you take your attention from something that you really, really don't want? Well, you have to want what you want more than the other. So how do you feel? Does the dog ever have a whole day of success?
Yes.
And how do you feel when your dog has a whole day of success?
I feel great.
And do you convey that to your dog?
Yes.
Do you hold your dog as your object of attention as you revel in the success that you've had?
Yes.
Really?
I do all the time, actually, even when he does it the opposite. But yeah.
It really is that simple. We have just given you the secret to controlling your whole life experience. This little dog has given us the secret to everything. Look at what you want. Don't look at what you don't want. And that's it.
Perfect.
And practice it until enough momentum gets going that it carries the day. So then you want to ask, but doesn't the dog have anything to say about it? And we say, well, do you think the dog wants to be appreciated? Do you think the dog likes it when you're projecting your happy self toward it? In other words, is there anything about that that's not really logical and clear?
Nope.
Yeah. We think so too.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Report back in. Everyone wants to know.